Hello guys and welcome back to another Magic Arena game. Today we're going to be going over deck building. Now, the deck that I think is the coolest I don't know, coolest. Got a few decks that I think are pretty cool. But let's actually go over this deck because this deck is based off of a starter deck that you can get actually in real life. So I named it Dino Dash. I don't know what the actual deck is called. So we have Dino Dash 2 here. Why did I had a reason to copy it. I can't remember why. I think just in case I went over and I messed with it. I wouldn't save it. So essentially, when you are looking at building a deck, my best advice for you, if you are not going to net deck, which, just for clarification, net decking is essentially using a deck list that you found online, normally typically of a deck that's already proven itself. Over the years, I've grown to not hate net decking. I was a pretty serious homebrewer back in the day, but you know, all net decks started as a homebrew from someone. So whatever, like, do whatever you find fun. I find deck building really fun, and obviously I take influence from net decks to deck build, especially depending on what archetype I'm trying to deck build into. But the most important thing is, when deck building, is to find your WoW card. Now, so when you're starting off the game, and hopefully you're enjoying it. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, you know, I would recommend still giving it a shot. But you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But hopefully you're enjoying the game, and you're looking through your cards, you're looking through your collection, and hopefully you can find some cards that excite you. A good rule of thumb, it's not perfect, but it is a good rule of thumb, is to look at your rare and mythic cards that you have. So if we filter by rare and mythics, most of these cards are good, quote unquote. And for the sake of this video, we'll say that all of these cards are good. So we look through these cards and we need to find something that's like, wow, this is something I could make a deck out of. Now, for the sake of this, because I did base this deck off of a starter deck that you can buy in real life, this was the card, the Planeswalker card, that I decided to make this deck out of. And so kind of these two cards, the card that fetches it and then the card itself. So that being said, when we make it, so it doesn't have to be that card for you. It can be any card you have. Really doesn't even have to be a rare or mythic. There are actually some cards that have inspired me to want to build decks that aren't rare or mythic, and especially if you're playing like a format like Pauper, which, you know, hopefully I can do a video on later. I haven't seen the Arena Pauper, but I'm excited to play it. Obviously, depending on what format you're playing, you know, it might not be a rare or mythic at all. You know, some of the best cards ever printed have been commons and uncommons. You know, I mean, plenty of great commons and uncommons. But general rule of thumb, you haven't played before, you know, you're starting off. Most of these cards are exciting. Most of these cards are flashy. Most of these cards can get you kind of brewing. So, for sake of simplicity and just to kind of show you my thought process and to kind of help you get into the mindset of a thought process for this, I'm going to show you how to kind of homebrew, and hey, how to maybe upgrade a deck if you are playing the starter deck in real life or even on Magic Arena. So, if we come and look at our main Planeswalker, we look, and I'm not really going to go over Planeswalkers right here. If you don't understand how Planeswalkers work, a very quick just way is the bottom right corner is going to be their loyalty counters that they start with. That's essentially both how much life they have and how much they can do. It's kind of weird, but so Huatley starts off with 4. Whatley's first ability is a +2, so that would make it a 6. I think it's a her. Her second ability is a -3, which would make her a 1. And then her last ability is a -7, which means we can't even do it the first turn we play her. You can do one ability per turn, so you could do +2 or -3 the first turn she's played, and then that's the end of it. That's all you can do per turn, and you can only do these abilities at sorcery speed, which means during your main phase 1 or 2. So, all that being said, we come and look over here. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to one target dinosaur you control. So already we're seeing a little bit of a dinosaur theme. -3, target dinosaur you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Alright, we're seeing a lot more of a dinosaur theme. -7, dinosaurs you control get +4/+4 until end of turn. Okay, so I guess we're building into dinosaurs, is essentially the thought process here. Now, there is no reason, because dinosaurs are primarily in white, red, and green, there is no reason we couldn't add green to this deck. And it's totally viable if you want to do that. There are plenty of great dinosaurs that are either mono green or have green in their casting cost. Very, very, very viable to add some green into a dinosaur deck. That's not exactly what I was wanting, though. I was wanting kind of a more like aggro mid-rangey kind of deck that was going to swing sort of fast, but definitely swing hard. And so I just stuck with white and red to kind of give me the what I was essentially looking for. So if we come over here, this is broken down into mana cost. Now, one thing that's kind of important is, obviously this isn't always going to be the case, but your WoW card normally needs to be on the higher end of your mana curve. So we see Whatley right here is 6 mana, and I do have 2 8 mana cards, but I also have ways to kind of make their casting cost a little lower. So they're normally not 8 mana. So really, Whatley is normally my highest card to cast in this deck. But this is important though, because we want to make sure that the turn we can play Whatley, that she's out, and we're not essentially choosing between playing her or something else, which we do still have 2 other 6 mana spells as well, but like I said, they're normally not 6 mana. Anyway, so we're going to go down the list. So it's dinosaur deck. We have Kinjali's Collar. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is obviously really good if you're playing in white and playing dinosaurs. It gets your big creatures out faster. And it's a 0/3. It can take a lot of aggro, attention away from you. It's either something they're going to have to burn a lightning strike on, or something that they're going to have to swing wider to get around. Either of those are good options for us. We're going Priest of the Waking Sun. So Priest of the Waking Sun says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand. If you do, you gain 2 life. Pro tip, it can be the same dinosaur card every single turn, which is awesome, because you just show them that you have the same card 5-6 times, and you're gaining 2 life or more every turn, depending on if you have more than one of them. Also, for 3 and 2 white mana, so 5 mana, sacrifice Priest of the Awakening Sun, search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. This can be really good for late game. 4 shocks. Shock deals 2 damage to any target. I would recommend, if you're playing in red, to either have shock or lightning strike, if not both. And here we go, lightning strike. Lightning strike deals 3 damage to any target. Just a good card to have if you're playing in red. Otepec Huntmaster. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and if you tap him, target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn, which is really good. It's a 1/2, which isn't the worst thing in the world either. Then we have Sky Terror for 2 mana. So it has flying and haste. Now, I'm sorry, it has flying and menace. I'm sorry. And menace is so essentially it takes 2 creatures to block it, no matter what. It doesn't matter if they have an 8/8 flyer, trampler, death toucher, first striker. It doesn't matter. you have to have 2 creatures block this 1 creature. For 2 mana, this is pretty strong. Like, really, this is a pretty strong dinosaur. For 5 mana, we have Charging Monstrosaur. Monstrosaur? Yeah, Monstrosaur. That's it. I was like, I've heard this card pronounced before, but I was trying to remember. Charging Monstrosaur. So, Charging Monstrosaur, which normally is closer to like 4 or even 3 mana, but it's a trample haste for 5/5. That's pretty good. If you're wanting to swing, fast and hard, it's pretty good. Sunblessed Mount, essentially a 4/4 that when it hits the field, you search your library or graveyard for Watley. Burning Sun's Avatar, a 6/6 that deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent or planeswalker. Really good, not only to close out games, but to put more pressure on. Essentially, we're just trying to make it to where all of our dinosaurs are major threats that have to be taken down. We have Atali, Primal Storm, which is another dinosaur. Whenever Atali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Really good. Really, a very underrated card in my opinion. Watley, we've already been over that. Wakening Sun's Avatar. When Wakening Sun's Avatar enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, destroy all non-dinosaur creatures. Really good for late game. Yes, it hits a few of our humans and our kind of support cards, but that's fine normally at this time. And then Zatalpa Primal Dawn. And this is just pretty much got every keyword known to man. Flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. It's ridiculous. It's a good game closer. You can normally get it out around turn 5 sometimes, 6. You're normally not casting it for 8 mana, which makes it even better. And there are plenty of times when you cast it and can turn it into a 6/10 the turn you cast it and possibly give it haste. Point is, it's not necessarily to go over the deck entirely. It's to kind of go over, I hope that my theme here is concise. It's getting big dudes on the field and making those big dudes even bigger and making you have to deal with each one of them. I don't have that much removal because my creatures kind of do the removal for me. There's only so many times you can take 6, 8, 10 damage to the face before you have to start blocking. It doesn't matter how big your flyer is or how big your creatures are. Mine can eventually get bigger. And that's kind of how this deck wants to work. And when you're building a deck, it is important to have a concise theme like this. One of the worst things that I see new players do is they play in a color and they're like, oh my god, all these cards are really good in this color. And that's very true. There are some really great white and red cards that I haven't put in this deck. Really great, top-notch white and red cards. Might be better than the cards that are actually even in the deck. But they don't really go with the theme, so it just kind of be random. Yeah, it might be a good card in another deck, but it's not really a great card here, and that's something that you really have to look out for when you are playing Magic and brewing your own deck. I would definitely recommend going online and getting some examples of successful decks first. Even if you don't like net decking, and I understand not liking net decking, it is still important to know what the meta is. I will say this, the meta seems pretty diverse right now, which is actually really cool. The meta isn't really just, like, I remember playing about a year or two ago, and the meta was really kind of stale, in my opinion. It only had a few decks that were like tier 1, and then a bunch of rogue decks that were just kind of doing whatever. This meta seems to be pretty open, sort of, from what I've seen, but it is still important to see what makes a deck successful. And I will be going over some games with this deck. It might even be what the next video is, so to just kind of show you what exactly, or like how this plays, and why, to an extent, for a casual deck, this is definitely, something that I have fun with. That is mostly going to be it for this video. Some more recommendations on just building a deck is to make sure you have a beginning, middle, and end game plan. You know, obviously, some of the best cards for just abilities, power, and toughness are normally some of the highest casting cards. But you have to remember that your opponent isn't just going to sit there and let you get to 6, 7, 8 mana without at least attempting to kill you. So you have to have some plans on how to get late game. Trust me, I'm an advocate for playing with some off-the-wall, high-costing creatures and planeswalkers and sorceries and whatever. But you just have to keep in mind that you have to have a way to defend yourself and keep yourself alive to get there. And I do have a deck that's actually really like that I'll probably be playing later. So for now, that's going to be the end of this video. I might do more deck building videos later, but I will definitely be doing videos about specific decks so that I have built. So you can kind of get an idea on at least how I build decks, and hopefully when I play decks, we can see that at least for casual games, I can build some decent decks. So you can at least see kind of what the thought process is and you know, how successful it can be. But anyway, that'll conclude it for this video. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.